Oh man, just when I thought Twitter couldn't get any worse, they come out with another terrible take. This take in particular is actually so outlandishly bad that I think the people who brought this up genuinely need to be investigated or something. Because this is not something that a normal functioning human being would ever say. Now what is this take, I hear you asking? Well, I'll put it in the lightest terms I can. Anne Frank had white privilege. Now I'm sure that you know who Anne Frank is. If you don't, she's one of the most well-known Holocaust victims. She, unfortunately, along with the rest of her family, were hunted down, captured, and eventually killed for being Jewish. And now, people on Twitter were debating on whether or not Anne Frank was actually benefited by white privilege, which is probably the dumbest fucking sentence I've said recently, which probably gives you an idea on just how out of pocket this take really is. Now, I'm super late in making this video, but I saw this while I was on vacation actually, and I still want to talk about it, so that's what I'm gonna do. This whole thing really unfolded a little more than a week ago where Anne Frank was actually trending on Twitter, and these absolute chimps decided to just dive off the deep end and suggest that she of all people had white privilege. Hold on, I want to make sure I say this carefully. Yeah, Anne Frank had white privilege. Bad things happen to people with white privilege also, but don't tell the whites that. I don't think there is any careful way that you could say that. Yes, Anne Frank, a child who experienced one of the worst atrocities that took place in human history, a child who was separated from her family and died in a Nazi death camp, was privileged because she was white. She was murdered. I don't think her being white helped her in any way. And what do you mean by bad things happen to people with white privilege? So if my neighbor's house fucking burns down or he gets in a fatal car crash, that's because he happens to be white. Imagine the doctors at a hospital telling you, yeah, sorry, we can't help your dad because of his skin complexion. How are you this mentally unhinged that you wake up one morning and actually decide to put something like this out there on the internet? And you know what's funny? The people who are actually saying that Anne Frank had white privilege are the ones with actual privilege. They seem to be living rather comfortable lives if their main issue is arguing in the woke echo chamber known as Twitter. I mean, they have a house. That seems pretty privileged, right? They have an electronic device to spew out all their nonsense. That screams privilege to me, I don't know about you. Tell me, in what way was Anne Frank privileged? Because to say someone is privileged is supposed to insinuate that they're living a better life than others? Tell me then, with a straight face, did Anne Frank end up living a better life than your average modern day kid? Nope. Didn't think so. Was she privileged for having to stay in a fucking attic for 2 years while Nazi soldiers were hunting her down? Was she privileged for being taken into a concentration camp to get fucking killed? Nope. Didn't think so. The girl had an attic, a diary, and a pencil for God's sake. She was not privileged in the slightest. Now, I read some arguments that Anne Frank's family was rich and because of that she was privileged, but this just isn't the case. Quick history lesson. Her family didn't have that much money at all. Her grandfather was rich, but most of the money was gone after he died. The idea that people are even arguing this is insane. To say that Anne Frank was privileged for losing her family and dying during one of the worst events in human history is just downright cruel at this point. Again, I'm late in making this video, but I just couldn't skip this one. I felt like I had to talk about it. But yeah, just a stupid fucking take overall. But that's gonna do it for the video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did and could leave a like, I would greatly appreciate it. And subscribe for more content. And I'll see you in the next one.